What's up, dudes? Welcome back to another episode of Rhomas Men's Team. Pretty simple. We are a group of guys helping each other make progress towards each other's goals. If you're new to the channel, awesome and welcome. If you want to help support the channel and join our pro team, head over to rhomasteam.com/pro, where you can contribute to us on a donation basis. We also give you access to exclusive content, mastermind groups, etc., etc. So anyway, hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the team.
We are live. We are in fact live, but for some reason my video just tucked tail. I'm gonna exit out and come right back.
Okay, see you later. If we're live, you guys are witnessing me making a green matcha latte. Trying to get fancy over here. Ray, you'd be happy. I got a milk frother if you're on here.
Sorry about that. I hit the go live button with such fervor that I knocked my USB camera loose. So just in case you guys are wondering, it was I went live too hard for my computer.
You did, bro. You did.
What's up, bro? How'd the weekend go? Oh, pretty good. You did. You know what? Just to put a neat little button in our conversation from Friday. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there it is. I had something said on my end. So last Friday we were discussing like, within relationships, specifically usually romantic ones, showing like using logic versus like kind of showing emotion, vulnerability, if you could kind of like break it onto two separate things. So I had an ongoing thing with Brittany with like her bringing things to my attention that I'm like, this is nagging. You're nagging me. Stop doing that. But and usually you get angry, upset, and as it happens to me a lot when we have these discussions on here. So we had like I had like an open kind of nag altercation that I had been like, stop, you're fucking nagging me before I came. That was unsettled. It wasn't settled. So when we had this discussion, and as I'm sitting here, I started thinking, I'm like, it just actually just popped into my head, but I started thinking like why it bothers me so much when I'm nagged. And usually it's like they said before, I've heard before, like anger a lot of times is a secondary emotion to where like there's a different one that's hitting it, but then like it just gets glossed over so quick and goes to anger, if that makes sense. So to give you an example, so I'm thinking about it and it just came to me out of nowhere. I'm like, dude, whenever you're like pointing stuff out, like say like I left something on the counter, like I forgot to put a dish away, something like that. I was like, it makes me feel like I've let you down or like I've deeply disappointed you and I've caused you to be upset. And that makes me feel really bad. And as I was explaining this, I just started like imagining like a little boy just kind of like all upset from getting like chastised and yelled at by like his mom or whatever. And I like, it was like emotionally moving. And I was like instantly just texted Brittany. I was like, this is why I'm getting so angry when you like point stuff out like this. And I like explained the whole thing. Dude, and it was like, and that, like putting that like emotional level onto it rather than being like, you're annoying me when you do that, but like it makes me feel badly. It helped tremendously now, even to where like she'll be pointing stuff out and I can tell she'll like catch herself and be like, it's not a big deal, but like just, rather than being like, bah, with all like that stank on it. So
with all that stank on it.
I say that to say, I think that is the component that I think does help. It's kind of the mover and shaker. Like logic's a great framework, but then the day to day, I think it's good to have some of that in there as well, because I feel like it's like, how like they give like, like with vitamins, sometimes it's not bioavailable. Yeah. Like you need to take it with something else to make, like, I think a lot of times if you can harness the emotional aspect, it acts as a very potent carrier for the logic to get across. Because I can sit here all day and logically be like, it's annoying when you do that. You shouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. But when you hit them with like, here's where it's coming from like for me emotionally, and you share that, it like takes what you've been trying to say all along, but kind of encompasses it in like a neater package. A more compelling one, I should say.
Yeah. What do they say? It's kind of like hurt people, but then usually anger is usually masking some sort of hurt, like, just just hate, or I'm sorry, hurt or sadness.
Sure.
Yeah. No, I think Matt, I think you're exactly correct. I think if I had to dissect why I also get more reactive when it comes to nagging, I'd like to think that 97% of the time it's probably that too. Like it's some sort of like, I feel like I've disappointed you, and somewhere in my childhood, especially disappointing women, my mom would like freak out,
Yeah.
So that's probably where my disappointing from women comes from. And then wanting, like, I guess subconsciously then trying to mask it as like, what the fuck are you nagging me for? Like that sort of thing.
Yep.
I don't know what the antidote to that is. Like, what's the antidote? Is it you just tell them that you're hurt and that makes you sad instead of it makes you mad? Or like how do you fix that?
Well, all I did really was just share, like, because they're like, if you're just getting angry, like, stop annoying me, it gets adversarial. If they somehow can see you more as a, almost as like a child, they're like, oh, okay. It'll almost, in my opinion, it flips it to a more nurturing role where they're like, all right, it becomes not a power struggle because they're not fighting you. They're fighting like the little kid within you. And they go, oh, I'm being kind of an asshole over here right now. Let me like at least tone this down and like nice this up, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess what comes up for me there, and let me know, push against me, please, because I would love to crack this code, is I then feel like a sissy if I say that. And not only that, because as men, especially on the East Coast, we weren't taught to say that. Like, Matt, you really hurt my feelings,
Sure.
But then in addition to that, part of what comes up for me is does it work against me or her perception of me and being able to protect her, essentially. It's like, oh, he's just a little boy. Do you know what I mean? And he gets his feelings hurt. Like do you lose equity there?
I don't think so, to be honest. I really don't. I
don't think so either.
Because they know, when push comes to shove, I feel like that's a different scan that's being ran. Like if they're like the scan, that's a real one that you're talking about. Like, if some guy like backs into her chair really hard and you're like sitting, like that's a different scan they run. If if you're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Or handling it however. But it's like there is a scan where like if you kind of shirk from stuff like that, I feel like women absolutely do notice that. But I feel like when that's a good thing, I think they like to have that, but I think they also like to have that emotional vulnerability as well. And if they can have both, I think that's their ideal, to be honest.
Got it. So like, yeah, Will Smith style. If somebody backs the chair in, you go up and smack them. Oh, dude, funny little side tangent.
Don't get banned from the Oscars.
Funny little side tangent from that. And no disrespect towards Will Smith or Jada Pinkett, etc. But I actually didn't think Chris Rock's joke was that bad at all. But I was listening to a Theo Vaughn thing. It just came up on my YouTube. And during his sponsorship, he was reading through it. And it was like something for, it was like Hims hair loss or something like that. And, it was like to protect against hair loss. And he's like, and Will Smith's husband uses it. And he does fine with it, dude. It's just so sad.
That's so funny. That is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, that was the thing that I was like, that was kind of a eureka for me, big time the other day. I was like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm like, every time I get nagged, I'm seeing like, there's nothing worse than an angry, sweaty mom when you're little. Just an angry, sweating mom, just like, blah, blah, and you're just like, Jesus Christ. So I was I was able to like communicate that in a text message in real time and was like, hey, I think I figured out why this bothers me so much. And then it's not like, it's just an easier thing to be like, you're fucking annoying right now. You're really annoying me and it's brutal versus being like, hey, here's how the thing you do, here's how that affects me. And it becomes less of a struggle versus them. Like it kind of flips on like a nurturing switch. And I don't say that as like a trick. It's just, that's kind of after the fact that I like sat back and thought about it. And I'm like, oh, it's like, it's, because they have a whole other thing too against like, like if you're saying too, you want to kind of keep like I think there's a phrase called like keeping your form or like your kind of like masculine kind of like ceramic bust of you in the relationship. That can trigger a whole other thing for women where they start feeling controlled and they need to know that you have like squishy spots. I think that also gives them a different level of security. Intimacy, really.
Yeah, almost like you take off your armor with her and her alone, sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. I hate taking off my armor, bro.
You gotta take it off. They love it.
Sucks.
They can't see your penis, so dude. How they gonna see your penis? But either way, what's up for the week, bro? It's Monday. Enough with this fucking bullshit about girls. They're so fucking annoying.
Yeah, I know, seriously. So the weekend class went great, and dude, I'm so so grateful for how the business is growing and how in particular how we're growing. And I had a mentor told me grow, or not a mentor, but somebody who was speaking, said grow by design, not by default. And I really like that. And I found that you can use that in business. You can use that in life. It's like, don't just go and expand your friend group because it feels good to have more friends. Like, expand it by design. You only take on certain friends on board if they fit your value system. And when it's coming to growing a business, it's the same thing. Only take on certain clients who are going to grow.
Sense.
Dude, I'm telling you, bro, like I've made the mistake of hiring on a few clients and like, oh, like, you know, I'm going to regret this, but the money's there, sort of thing. Not a good move. Not a good move. So it feels like we're growing by design now, which is awesome.
That's kind of nice too. Yeah, that is a big deal, man. Of like, yeah, exactly. Not every dollar's equal, and there is a good thing in being like, I'm not even dealing with that right now. Because at the end of the day, you are trying to enhance your life. So it's like, if once you're out of survival mode, it's like, all right, well, yeah, I don't need to. Yeah, exactly. That's a really good thing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a version of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I would like to think that once you ascend each level, you don't want to go back down, like in some sort of capacity, you know. And that probably even has to do with a spouse. I think that Warren Buffett had a great quote about this. He's like, what did he say? Oh, damn it. Well, first of all, he said, like, you know, it's never a good idea to marry for money, especially if you're already rich, like that sort of thing. That's probably the best quote around it.
Yeah.
And then, it was something like, I forget. I'll have to look it up. I'll bring it up next podcast because it'll take me a minute to think about it. But always having a surplus from the last foundation that you built, never going down. You know, and I look at marriage almost the same way. It's like, build your life on a scaffolding that's super, super foundational. But then if you go and you marry the wrong person, all that prior scaffolding doesn't matter. Like, it literally doesn't matter. That person is going to make your life miserable. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many friends you have. That person, you're choosing to let this person into your life. It's going to destroy everything. So I think the same thing goes with business. Like, build it very intentionally by design, not just by default.
Oh yeah, no, that's something. Yeah, people can do havoc in that as well.
Yeah, so that's where we are. We taught a big class on Saturday, and then we're supposed to teach another big class this coming Saturday, and then we've got to build the systems in between. Just like the stuff we talked about in the past, build systems, and it's a bitch building the systems, and it's like a bitch building up. Like, you literally have to, and I think a household could be run like this. It is so tedious zooming in on the micro tasks that like move a family or move a business along the path. But if you don't sit down and take the time to actually develop those little microsystems, then it's never going to happen automatically. So that's what we're currently doing in the business. You know, like, oh, okay, we go out and teach a class. Then these people like sign up. Okay, who's following up with them signing up? Okay, then you call them, then you email them, then you follow back up with them, then you put like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, it's 15, 20 tasks. But if you act like they're not repeatable, then you're just fooling yourself. But the cost is it's tedious to go through.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you're like, we'll just see what happens, see who comes to us, and rather than being like, this is all kind of set up and designed, you know.
Hey dudes, sorry for the interruption here. Just wanted to let you know, if you want to join our pro team, go to romasteam.com/pro. You can help support the channel. You will also get access to exclusive content, masterminds, one-on-one sessions, etc. All right, back to the episode.
Yeah, and I think, and then there's the following through part. I honestly, one of the reasons I'm looking forward to building a family is because I swear to God these things will work in a family. Like, I swear to it. Because I've interviewed some clients who run their families kind of like a business. Like, you have your roles, I have my roles. Here's these sequences. Like, I do the dishes, you take out the trash, blah, 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 like all that stuff. And then they keep each other accountable. I cannot wait to build a family. One of the reasons is for that reason. Like, I swear you can build a family and a household like a machine. And I'm looking forward to that. And I know people are going to be like, no, you can't. Like, watch me. Like, I'll put money on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do anything to any degree. It's just a matter of, I mean, you can do anything. And well, you do need some, I do feel like it's very useful to have some form of systems about something in terms of like, who does what are we doing? You know, do we both do this? Do you just do that? Do I just, it does take a lot of the bullshit out of it, to be honest. That's something too, I go back and forth with like, cause like you can't have no, in my opinion, you can't have no systems at all. Like that's just that's kind of chaotic and tough. I've seen people try to do that. That just like, even just for like the kids' sleep schedule, it's like you need to have something. You need to have something, man. Like, you know, and I've seen people who are like, no, we just kind of like, the kid just comes with us and sleeps where it sleeps and blah 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 blah. But there, and I go back and forth with Brittany on this with you can like sleep train children, and it's like there's a fine line, or like, I guess it really depends on how old they are, but it's like there's people who go, oh, you leave the baby, just let it cry in the crib, it'll figure it out. And it's like, there has been research saying that's like not the best way to do that when they're really, really little. But then as they get older, it's like, and this is the tricky part of it, like Maya's 2, and then it's like, all right, she'll start like waking up at like 5 a.m, just be like, get in. She'll wake up and like, get in here. But there is things you can do to like make it so they wake up and they know they gotta wait. It's ridiculous. Like, you know that so me and Brittany go back and forth on that, like having a system, but we kind of counterbalance each other, because I lean towards the like, we'll just figure it out. And she's like, we need to have some sort of system, and it's nice to have kind of like a little counterbalance. Because then there's sometimes like, oh, let him cry it out, but then you go in and check and it's like, oh shit, turns out she had a fever. And if we were to just sticking to the system, we wouldn't realize, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, totally. No, and I think that's true for business as well. I think Toyota is one of the companies that sort of founded the principle of like, anybody can pull the emergency lever, like even in the assembly line, the workers.
Yep.
It's like, yes, if you recognize a flaw in the system or some sort of anomaly out of the system, then you pull the lever, stop the system, go and customize the solution, but then get immediately back to the system.
Exactly. But no, it is, man. It's so helpful just again, division of labor. What are we doing these days? Like, what does this person like to do? You handle, there's a big bag of tasks. It's like, what do you naturally gravitate towards? By all means, like Brittany does all of our financial shit. She just handles all of like the making sure stuff's paid on time. Like I have no idea what day it is half the time. So it's like, it is nice figuring that out and systematizing what you can, for sure.
Yeah, I think, and I think something that's helpful in business, and I could for sure say, I would assume it's helpful in a family. It's like go through and prioritize. Okay, what are the things in volume that we uncover the most? And actually, Ray is talking about 12 rules for life, and he kind of talks about this in that book, and Jordan Peterson talks about it in other speeches, etc. What are the things that you encounter the most with your spouse or your girlfriend or your business partners or whoever? And then prioritize those first, because oftentimes we put those last. It's like, oh, it's just the dishes, or oh, it's just the throwing out the food in the refrigerator. It's like, yeah, but you and your spouse intersect and bicker about that 2 times a week. That's 100 times a year. What if you eliminate that? What if you had some sort of system, and it's never going to be perfect, and one of you is going to fuck up, but if you can just eliminate half of those occurrences, that probably brings a bit more joy into your life. And if you do that with 3 separate things, that's a lot of things. If there was all the same numbers, that's 150 times throughout the year that you've avoided something intentionally just because you fixed it at the systemic level.
For sure, dude. It's, enough can't be, again, that's a big part of couples counseling that I've seen, is just like somebody's like holding you accountable to like systematizing your approaches towards X, Y, and Z. A lot. That's what I've seen. Yeah. Of like, well, when you guys argue, do you guys ever like just pause the argument? It's like, no, we both try to win until we die. It's, it's like, no, it's a go for broke. We're both right. We're trying to win. But a lot of it is that like, of like, just really genuinely just being more conscious and designing your days and setting them up. And again, I agree with you on like pretty much all of this stuff, because it's like a lot of times that gets perceived as like robotic or like inhumane on some level. And it's like, no, like you need form to your day. And it's the same thing. Like you need form to your day. And when you're in a relationship, again, if your experiences with relationships are like casually dating, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like that's a totally different, that's like using a drug with another person. So it's like, that's not really like running a household with somebody you've known for 6-7 years. They're 2 different beasts, very different beasts actually. And it's like, you do need to like, it's an enterprise. It's a genuine enterprise. Like you're setting up a mood for a household for other human beings to like kind of grow within. It's like the atmosphere. It's like, what is the atmosphere the 2 people create? And that you can for sure like systemize your approach to like creating a better one.
Oh yeah. I'll give an example. So I dated a girl, and I think, Gunther could probably relate to this, and MFG, I think, could probably relate to this now. So I dated a girl who had a child. And so we were it was pretty cool. Like we built our little system, our little, ecosystem. So for instance, I noticed that apparently he needs to eat lunch every day. So this was a new thing. It felt like that we discovered this every morning. It's like, oh, shoot, have to make his lunch. So then it's like, okay, how about you prepare as much of his lunch as possible 2 weeks in advance or a week in advance? And then you have to solve for the problem. It's like, okay, well, then you can't use necessarily perishable foods within that time zone. It's like, okay, well, what percentage of his food is non-perishable? Like you can get like these, but it's like also we need it to be healthy, right? So you start to develop these very interesting little complex problems that you don't consider, to be in day-to-day life, but they for sure are. So little things like that, and then all of a sudden you do that, and then you put them on little clips in the cabinet, and then all of a sudden you can see 14 days worth of clips, and it's like, okay, once you run into 4 days worth of clips, you have to go re-up on the next 10, and then it's like, okay, for him, he's losing his book bag. Okay, so every day you come home from school, you go and you take your book bag, you bring it up the steps first thing, and then you put it right in this spot in your room every single time. Boom, all of a sudden there's no more losing the book bag. Little things like that, man. And then it's pretty cool. It's really rewarding because then you can see progress in real time. Like you can literally see it the next day. You're like, oh shit, that works. That used to be an argument yesterday. Now it's no longer an argument. And it's with 3 people, not just 2. So it's pretty cool stuff, man.
Oh, dude, it's awesome. And again, it's I'm a big on the, like anything you can kind of go through and kind of structure that's unstructured is a humongous help. It's an enormous help, man.
Yeah.
Because like we all have the ability, for the most part, some people can't, but most of us have the ability to wiggle out of, like when things, like say you have your structure built up and the day just like floods your structure and it just gets chaotic. It's like, most of us have been going kind of just like kicking around, not structuring that. It's like, all right, you can kind of bounce between that. But it is like, this is what I'm trying to say. On the most part, people lack structure as opposed to there's not a problem with people, like a ton of us all lacking structure. Does that make sense?
Without a doubt.
So
I think art is probably the natural state for human beings. Like babies are all art. There's no science.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I think most people operate within there, but it gets frustrating, dude. The problem is it gets frustrating, and it's like, dude, if you can just sit down and just like I talk about it all the time. I've been trying to consciously just order. I'm still, dude, we've been doing this for years, and I'm still trying to refine something of a routine and kind of like harness my daily time and energy into like a more and more concentrated efforts, if that makes sense. Like less spread out, less spread apart. And I'm getting better and better. But dude, even just like, I wake up in the morning, I try to just make myself tea the first thing in the morning. The reason I do that is to, again, just to like, what is it? Can I get like 9 things in a row, just flawlessly execute it versus like waking up, like, I don't know, what am I going to do today? Maybe I'll read a little bit. Like, it's just like, I wake up every morning and I make myself tea first thing. I get my breakfast together. And then just like, I got this thing done, and then now I'm going to go do some form of workout, and just like getting that kind of structure, like preordained structure in your life where like, no matter how I'm feeling, what's up, that's the thing I'm doing outside of like a gigantic medical emergency. I will sit down and have my tea. And it's like, could I not? I could eat. It's like, yeah, but like I could and I'd be fine. But in the long term, like the more you kind of structure yourself like that, it just makes it easier to kind of like direct your energies and like get things done. So you're not sitting around like, damn, fuck, I fucking wasted another week of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, dude. Well, I got to say this, if you don't mind, while it's still fresh in my mind, because I agree with you. I think most people, if not all of us, are born in art. It's just free flowing, whatever my emotional state is, that's what I'm going to execute on, if I feel. But then when you get into relationships with people, whether it be intimate or friendships or business, et cetera, you then have to bring a certain level of science because other people need a certain amount of predictability for those puzzle pieces to be able to fit together. It cannot just be like this blob. And then in a relationship, I have found, especially me, it's like difficult because I want to be all science. But I have found, similar to dance, like people start off artistic and they're terrible at dance, most likely. Like formally judging them that they're not good at dance. Then you have to all of a sudden bring them into the science of dance, and then they become even worse because it becomes very robotic, and then eventually it turns back into art, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. In a relationship, what I have found is if you can bring science to it, like predictability, loyalty, hey, when you call, I pick up. If you text me, I text back relatively, blah, 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 right? Like all that stuff. Yeah, ASB is confirming the dance thing. ASB, what's up, buddy? I have found if you're having trouble, however, if you bring too much science to a relationship, it can become too predictable and too robotic and then just too unromantic. So I have found that then peppering in the art on top of the new science can be very effective. So, for instance, right, like that girlfriend and I, we would do a lot of science. We would do a lot of now predictable things like making the lunches, making sure the bed's made, making sure we get up on time, all of that stuff. But then it got kind of dull. And it's like, okay, well, how can we re-pepper in more art stuff? So little things, and I think these little ideas really help us men, like if we share them. So then what I did was I hand wrote little love notes or little like one-liners, and I cut them all up and I put them in a little jar, right? So then every morning I would make it science, but it's part art. Pull out one of those little love notes, take a picture of it, and send it to my girlfriend. And dude, that little thing, that little artistic thing, even though it was baseline in science, worked unbelievably well, like crazy well. So if anybody wants to take that idea, I swear to God, it's super impactful. It reminds them that you love them. And then also there's a bit of like handcrafted touch to it. Yeah, Gunther, if you haven't used that, definitely try it. I'd recommend it to all men because I think I really agree with the books that say love is an action. It's not just a feeling. And it's like, oftentimes I didn't have the feeling, but I needed to do the action. And if I already pre-did the action and all I had to do was just take a picture and send it off, man, that like helped me tremendously. And like little things like that. So I think I for sure think there's still room for art, but I do think you have to make sure you do it consistently, in my opinion.
I totally agree, man. That's what this week, that's why I got to leave early today. I'm taking Brittany to the interactive Van Gogh exhibit. So you go in and it's like, they're like, you're in a room that's just a painting basically. And you're like inside of a painting, but it's like this week, that's because this week is going to be very busy. She's getting closer to pregnancy. So where before I did something very similar, Wes, where it's like, I get so focused on all the work stuff that I just go, I come home and sleep, wake up and get back after it. And it's like, oh yeah, I forget sometimes like, I'm living with another human being that needs to be like entertained and like, like I'll come in and be like, nice, we did another day. And I'll just like clock out and just go to sleep. Yeah. So it's like, I try to do something like that now, just like almost weekly where it's like, we have the daytime time. And before I get so spun out, like I got to maximize every single second of my day at work. When in reality, if I burn like half a day at work and go do something with my wife or like take her on a little surprise date, dude, it just really settles down a lot of like those anxieties on her end that could be like, I'm being ignored, I'm being this, which in reality, it's like, yeah, I would just literally clock out, clock in, soldier style, come home, eat, and like look at each other and be like, all right, sleep time.
Right.
So it's like trying to like set up those little things, I've learned like, all right, that means a lot to her. And it's like, I'm usually like, damn, that was kind of cool. We did that anyway.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, dude. Another little thing. And then I know you got to run. Another thing I'll share with the guys. So how if you go to, I don't know, like a boutique coffee place, I even think Starbucks does this, where you get a coffee cup, it's a paper cup, and then they put a sleeve on it, and then you can write on the sleeve. Dude, that little thing, like I used to make my girlfriend coffee or tea and then put that little sleeve on there, but write in magic or black marker, like just a little thing, like have a great day. Dude, stupid easy, but it like sets them on fire. Like they love it. Like little things like that. Or Gibbons saying Post-it notes. And I think as men, we just don't remember that shit. It's super easy to do. It takes 10 seconds, and then all of a sudden you score 20 emotional bank account points. So if you guys haven't done that for your girls lately, you might want to try it.
For sure. That was something I was lacking on very hard. Like I spent so much time wrangling like the work stuff, getting myself disciplined around that. Like, yeah, I had a bad stretch of just kind of being like, dude, relax. Like she'd be like, well, we don't do anything. I'm like, relax. We'll be fine. Like, we have a good life, and then being like, all right, we have to like actually go out and, make it memorable and have fun. So, yes, well, dudes, what's going on this week? What's the plan?
Same thing, gearing up for the class on Saturday, then following through on all of the leads from this past Saturday. So, and trying to offload it to the staff as much as possible so we can get more predictable with it, and I can focus more on like the presentation stuff. So nice. I'm super pumped about it. How about you, buddy?
This week, all I'm trying to do is do my schedule's like complete chaos right now because I get nothing's nailed down right now. So I'm trying to get, and it's just, I'm like waiting on hearing back what time works for everybody. So right now my schedule's up in the air, but I will do Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, Stoner Dads, and I really want to finish the thing I'm doing on Patreon. I it's going really well. It's just, it's not there. I can't release it yet. It's not done. So
got it.
That's
All right,
just
peace.
that. 2
Let's do
podcasts,
it.
finish that, and then maybe I'll have a baby, maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So I got that hanging over my head too.
Love it, dude.
All right.
All right, buddy. Well, call
See
me
you
if
guys.
you need me, and you guys have an awesome fucking week. Have fun
Later
with the
on.
Van Gogh thing.
Huh? Oh, thank you.
Thing.
See you, man.
Later, buddy.